Our next guest perhaps put it best in a recent op-ed. Steel is the backbone of infrastructure modernization. So it's only fitting that we wind down our Rebuilding America infrastructure series this week with a look inside the steel industry. Joining us now is U.S. Steel President and CEO David Burritt. David, good to see you this morning. You know, we talked to a lot of folks in infrastructure, and we haven't focused a lot, I would say, on the Texas situation and water system. And let me just share this stat with you real quick. More than 800 public water systems serving 162 of the state's 254 counties have been disrupted because of the storm activity that has happened in Texas. Really, just a startling stat. Is improving our water systems perhaps one of the most important things that should be in any infrastructure bill?
Well, I think that's certainly true, Brian. I think it's really important that we get this infrastructure bill off and running. It's one of those things that is long overdue. I think during the Great Recession, we would have liked to have a bill. We would have liked to have a bill 4 years ago, but it seems like the time is right. And I think everybody understands where we are today, and a lot of great lessons learned from this pandemic. I call them silver linings because these are the things that we have to get after to make this country stronger. And if we've learned anything about conditions through the pandemic, is you've got to have things that are made in the USA so that you can take care of the USA. And what we like to say at US Steel is mined, melted, and made in the USA. So whether it's water, whether it's roads and bridges, whether it's cybersecurity, these are the kinds of things that this country needs. In fact, needed years ago. And I'm glad to see that we're building back better. And as we say at US Steel, with best of both, the best of mini mills and the best of integrated mills. So whether it's water, roads, bridges, or cyber, we think this is a great time for us to have an infrastructure bill that will benefit so many people, great jobs, and certainly put the United States back where it should be with roads and bridges and infrastructure that our population expects and frankly deserves.
David, is that one of your concerns here, that if we do get an infrastructure bill, that the U.S. infrastructure is rebuilt in the case of steel with steel from China? Look, I mean, the Section 232 tariffs are still on here. It continues to have a major impact on the steel industry. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think what we've always said, we can compete with anyone with a level playing field, but it's very clear that we haven't had that level playing field, and the 232 was necessary. The steel that would come from China, the illegal steel that would come from China, would find its way into Europe and then into the U.S. So the risk is that unless you have enforcement at the borders and it would take the 232 off, that steel that would come from Europe might actually come from Asia and find its way in. And that's the real danger. I think it's too soon to take off the 232. I think we need to make sure, I know we need to make sure that we can take care of the United States. Again, getting back to the pandemic, what did we learn? You have to have a resilient supply chain, a supply chain that you can count on. And that means making sure you have enforcement at the borders and keep the illegal steel out.
David, it's Julie here. So I want to ask, are you pushing for a measure within the infrastructure bill that would mandate some percentage of steel used in these projects would be from U.S. sources? Do you have the capacity to meet that kind of demand? If so, and I mean, how much of a boon for your business is this infrastructure bill going to be if it gets through?
Well, I think the infrastructure bill is good for everybody in the steel industry in the United States. Now, for U.S. Steel, the infrastructure bill, we look at that as in terms of construction, that would be about 15% of our business. And so in terms of what does that mean to us? I mean, I think it means more to the population than anybody else. I think what we found with the American Society for Engineers, what they say, $3,300, $3,400 savings per family that this would save. So frankly, it's less about U.S. Steel, it's less about the steel industry, and it's more about the population and creating some great jobs for people, for the customers that we serve, our customers, whether it be Yellow Products, the Caterpillars, the Deeres of the world that make the progress possible, or it's the roads and bridges that need to be repaired and contain our steel. But there are going to be great jobs there that, frankly, can be physically distanced during a pandemic. So I think this is something we can get on with, and it's not just a one year and done thing. This is going to be a multi-year program. And when you have multi-year programs that have good paying jobs, you really create a situation that's fantastic. And yes, we can supply the steel here from the United States. I know U.S. Steel, we've had a V-shaped recovery with the auto industry, and we're trying to keep up with that. But everything was turned off so dramatically in the second quarter of last year, trying to ramp up and understand what the demands are. But, I have to say, I've gone from, even back in the second quarter of last year, cautiously optimistic to, dare I say, bullish to bullish. And now I'm sensing there's going to be a super cycle here with lots of cash, liquidity from the Fed, from Powell. Did an incredible job last year, just amazing. And then we have the relief bill that's gone into place, and even money in that relief bill hasn't been spent, and another 1.9 trillion. So there's a lot of money on the table ready to be spent on the infrastructure, spent on clean energy, again, building back better. It's a great thing for this country, and I think it's going to be a great thing for the world too, to see the United States step up, collaborate, and lead.
And, David, it's Miles here. Before we let you go, I want to ask a little bit about the market right now and pricing we've seen. I mean, iron ore prices have gone bonkers, really, in the last couple of months. I will say selfishly, I'm looking at trying to spec out a home gym. The stuff doesn't exist right now. There's a supply crunch. Pricing is going up. What is the bottleneck still? Is it distancing within factories? Is it the inability for product to be shipped, cross continents? And how do you kind of see that rectifying itself as we get into this economic cycle that clearly you're quite excited about?
Well, I think right now lead times are definitely extended, and we would expect those to come down later in the year. But we do think that we do have room to run through this year. And again, I do believe it's a super cycle. How long the cycle lasts, I don't know. I mean, in the past, typically a cycle would be 6 months. This could run a couple of years, especially if we get the infrastructure bill in place, and especially if we as the president says, build back better, with our best of both, as we said, kind of rolls off the tongue, mini mills and integrated mills. So I do think it's going to have an extended time frame. Weather-related issues obviously have impacted this year in terms of the supply chain. But to the extent that it's made in the United States, there's a lot better opportunity to get the supply under control and in our customers' hands faster than if imported from overseas. Because with lead times as long as what they are, by the time that the materials come in from overseas, we will have things under control here in the U.S. and better for our customers, better for us, and looking forward to a stronger future together.
All right, U.S. Steel President and CEO David Burritt, appreciate your time this morning. Good to chat with you, and congrats on the acquisition of Big River. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for having me, Brian. Really appreciate it.